Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely startling analysis from a recent global crisis news report. We are looking at an alleged and frankly unprecedented event, a reported missile strike on the Dimona nuclear complex. Our goal here? To impartially walk you through the precise claims and the strategic theories laid out in this source material so we can really grasp the sheer magnitude of what's being suggested. To set the stage, the source anchors its entire thesis on one stark claim: a missile built to carry nuclear warheads hit a nuclear site. Just let that sink in for a second. According to their analysis, this specific pairing of weapon and target, it has literally zero equivalent anywhere in the history of the nuclear era. The source builds its whole argument around the idea that this is a crossed threshold, something that fundamentally changes the math of modern conflict. All right, moving into part one, the incident at Dimona. The source paints a pretty harrowing picture here. They report that before this event, the facility had already suffered progressive structural collapse, active fires, and breached containment from 3 previous missile strikes. So the crucial takeaway from the analysis is that this fourth alleged strike, using a Shahab-3, didn't hit some pristine, heavily fortified bunker. Actually, the warhead supposedly detonated inside an outer perimeter that was already critically degraded. The protective layers were basically stripped away, which maximized the potential for cascading damage to the nuclear infrastructure inside. Which brings us to section 2, unpacking the Shahab-3. Now, what's really interesting about this timeline is how the source traces the Shahab-3's origins back to the 1990s. They note it was actually derived from the North Korean No-Dong platform with documented Russian assistance. It was first shown to the public back in 1998, and by the 2020s, extended-range variants were deployed, putting major regional targets right in the crosshairs. But, the key thing the source really emphasizes isn't just its age or how far it can fly. It's the fact that Western defense establishments have classified this missile, right from its inception, as a primary nuclear delivery system custom-sized for a nuclear payload. And the report draws a really sharp strategic contrast here. It points out that earlier strikes allegedly used highly sophisticated precision bunker-busting systems, things like the Fateh-3 and Hypershekin-4. The Shahab-3, on the other hand, it relies on area effects. And that's a metric that's usually relevant to nuclear targeting, not pinpoint precision. So the source argues that choosing this specific, internationally recognized nuclear delivery vehicle over other advanced precision weapons was a highly calculated message in itself, totally independent of whatever the actual payload was. Okay, let's move into section 3, radiological and physical fallout. So the immediate question everyone is asking is, well, was it a nuclear blast? The source addresses this head-on by looking at what independent monitoring networks from the US, Russia, China, and the CTBTO did not see. You see, a traditional fission or fusion detonation produces instantaneous signatures, right? We're talking seismic activity, an electromagnetic pulse, optical flashes, and massive thermal output. Because these specific signatures haven't been detected, the source concludes the payload wasn't a traditional nuclear explosive device. But the mystery of what exactly was detonated remains absolutely central to their findings. But as the report points out, the lack of a mushroom cloud definitely doesn't mean there's an absence of danger. The source points to some pretty alarming regional responses. Jordan has reportedly been distributing potassium iodide tablets. Egypt is actively maintaining health advisories. And crucially, CTBO stations across the region are allegedly picking up elevated radionuclide readings. The source uses all this data to impartially illustrate a very real, expanding environmental alarm that is spreading right across the Eastern Mediterranean because of this impacted facility. Let's shift gears to section 4, the strategy of silence. And this brilliantly illustrates a theory the source introduces for why we're seeing so much silence: strategic ambiguity. It's defined here as the deliberate withholding of official disclosure to sustain maximum pressure without triggering the categorical response that absolute certainty would demand. The analysis suggests that by refusing to confirm whether the payload was conventional or something else, both sides are playing a very heavy, load-bearing geopolitical game. In this case, ambiguity is seen as way more valuable and maybe even more terrifying than certainty. But we have to ask, who exactly bears the cost of all this strategic ambiguity? 210,000. According to the source, that number represents the residents of just one nearby city, Beersheba. These citizens, along with tens of thousands of others in neighboring communities, are the ones living directly under this veil of silence. They're the ones physically subjected to whatever atmospheric dispersal might be happening, all while official channels remain completely dark. The report details the profound human toll this is taking. Residents down in those southern districts are reportedly observing what the source calls the white sky phenomenon.
It's described as a specific atmospheric haze of chemical and aerosolized particulate fallout, lofted up into the troposphere by the thermal updraft of the strike. And the source notes this massive shift toward profound existential dread among the population. The so-called Covenant of Dimona, the belief that this facility was the ultimate guarantor of their national survival, has basically been turned completely upside down. The analysis argues that the very facility meant to protect them is now seen as the main source of their vulnerability.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, a broken global norm. The international community's response is really the key indicator to watch here. The source highlights demands from the IAEA for full transparency, but they place a massive emphasis on a very specific, powerful quote from the US administration: "All options remain on the table." The source identifies this phrase as the most direct language deployed so far. It's not just standard political rhetoric, right? According to the analysis, this is language signaling that we are incredibly close to a major decision point, one of massive magnitude that is actively testing international humanitarian law and the Geneva Conventions. So what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to a final, deeply provocative question drawn straight from the source's thesis. Has the boundary between a nuclear delivery vehicle and a nuclear weapon been permanently erased? If a nuclear-capable missile can strike a nuclear installation and the world just kind of absorbs it into the existing framework of conflict, the source argues that a vital, foundational global norm has been shattered. It's a heavy, incredibly complex question about the future of international deterrence. And honestly, it's exactly the kind of question this explainer was built to help you navigate. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep questioning the world around you.